Welcome to From the Shed End podcast with myself, T.Dot. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Now, before we get into the content, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and also click the link to all the social media accounts in the description. You'll find them all there. And also our Spotify and Apple podcast is also available to listen to as we gear up to the new season. Make sure you give those a listen before the new season kicks off. But let's get straight into it. There's quite a bit to talk about. Of course, we've been watching the preseason games. Everyone's been casting and giving their views about what they think has happened at Chelsea. Man, now a lot's happened, you know, and I think there's a lot to sort of take in. Firstly, I've got to say this. I thought Raheem Sterling played very well in the 2 games that he's featured in so far. Koulibaly looked probably arguably the best player on the pitch against Arsenal as well. But there's cracks. There's a lot of cracks showing in that squad now. And I think it's difficult to pinpoint one ultimate reason for that. I don't think we can pinpoint just one person or one particular issue or one particular thing that is the reason why we've looked so sluggish and poor going through, the preseason as it has been. I mean, you got to think, go back to the last, couple of games before the season ended. We were playing poor then. You know, Mendy's probably arguably since he came back from the African Cup of Nations has been poor. There's been so many cracks. Lukaku being a massive factor in that as well. You're losing Antonio Rudiger and Andreas Christensen, who are arguably again alongside Thiago Silva, your most featured centre backs in that position as well. So there's a lot for me to take in. There's a lot for me to try and understand and try and process when I'm thinking about all these things, because at the end of the day, for me, I think, the season kicks off in less than 2 weeks, and realistically, you could easily say that Thomas Tuchel, has come out and said it as well. But we're far away from being anywhere ready to start a season by the looks of things, anyway. And that's worrying. And I think that ties into the other part around transfers, because I think the last video that I did was around Koulibaly coming to the club. There was obviously talk about Jules Koundé. That deal was meant to be wrapped up shortly after. I think I mentioned that in the video. And as time's progressed, I mean, I've left this video really for that reason, because, the speculation around Jules Koundé coming to Chelsea has been, he's going to come, he's not going to come, he's going to come, he's going to come or not going to come. And I just think for a player to not show the intention of wanting to join a club, and for whatever reason, whether it's Barcelona, whether it's Sevilla, whoever, but for whatever reason, this deal just has not been done. That's a telltale sign for me that I don't think he wants to come to Chelsea, because we had a deal agreed in principle previous to this negotiations taking place. And realistically, I mean, Jules Koundé was in London not too long ago, a couple of months ago, and it looked like the deal was going to be done. Talks were ongoing. This is before the sanctions, I think, or whilst the sanctions were taking place. You almost felt like once the sanctions had been lifted and the new owners, now Todd Boehly, were in position, that would have been one of the first signings we would have made, was Jules Koundé. I mean, it's a massive issue in terms of defensively. We don't have the players. We obviously missed out on De Ligt as well. Rafinha going forward was another big one. Ousmane Dembele. A lot of these players seem to have used the club. Gabriel Jesus was another one that we were kind of flirting with at one point. Richarlison, another player that we were linked with. All these players that we're linked with. And, looking back now in hindsight, for me personally, I potentially would have kept Marina Granovskaya, maybe Bruce, but I would have kept that recruitment structure underneath the club. I would have kept it maybe for this transfer window, because you're looking at it now, Todd Boehly's taken on a massive role in terms of not just the owner of or co-owner of the club, but he's also doing the day-to-day negotiations, trying to get these deals done. And he's also obviously involving Thomas Tuchel a lot in these negotiations, which is brilliant when they work and they pull up. We can pull them off. Raheem Sterling or Koulibaly is an example of that. But when it's not working and we're missing out on prime key targets, going back to Perisic, who went to Spurs in the end, these are players that, Perisic would have been a brilliant signing, especially if we lose Alonso to Barcelona. or Aspilicueta as well. There's so many options that we haven't really thought about, and we can't get rid of players. We're struggling to get rid of these players that we know need to go out the club. Malang Sarr, Batshuayi, Bakayoko, Ross Barkley. Maybe even by the looks of it, we look like we've thrown Timo Werner into that conversation as well. But I just feel like we can't get rid of any other players until we know who's coming through the door, which is worrying because, like I said, the season starts in less than 2 weeks. We still don't really look like we're ready to start the season. I can assure you that Thomas Tuchel is looking at some of these players now and he's thinking, I know you're not going to feature for me in the season, but you're having to play for me in pre-season. And you look at the likes of, like I mentioned, Ross Barkley. Are these players going to be at the club? Potentially not. Michy Batshuayi, is he going to be at the club? Potentially not. Armando Broja is another one that is really sort of throwing a lot of things in the air because, like I mentioned a couple of videos ago, we were heavily linked with Cristiano Ronaldo. There was talks that were ongoing and that were held with his agent. And, Thomas Tuchel shut them down straight away. He basically said to Armando Broja, look, the door is open for you to make your name at Chelsea. And we don't have an out-and-out striker in terms of the model, the mold, the role that Armando Broja can play. We don't have that. We don't have anyone in the team currently that can play through the middle like he does. For Thomas Tuchel to turn down Cristiano Ronaldo, who we know is going to get us goals, we know this. It's a given. He's going to give us goals. For him to turn him down and Armando Broja not to think, right, he's turned him down, this is my opportunity to shine in this team, very much like Trevor Chalobah. You think about, back to when Trevor Chalobah broke really into the first team the last couple of seasons or so, and he's cemented himself as arguably, going forward this season, as one of the key defenders in the team now. And he's played in some big crucial games last season. So I look at Broja, that sort of trying to get to West Ham. Hopefully that's now died down. They've turned their intentions to someone else. But thinking that you're not part of a team, and clearly Thomas Tuchel's come out in press conferences and other interviews, I'm sure he's probably saying it on the training ground, he wants you to be involved in the team. He wants you to be part of this team. And to try and force a move away, I don't get that. I don't get that at all, and maybe this is just his agent in his ear. If he's got an agent that's trying to get him a move for regular football, maybe he's been told that he isn't going to be playing regular football at Chelsea. Maybe he's been told that there is intentions to bring in a number 9 or a key striker to replace Romelu Lukaku. But if none of these things are happening, then Armando Broja is the guy that we're going to have to use going forward for now, for the foreseeable, because there's only so much negotiations we're going to be able to do until we get to the point where we start signing players that we potentially don't want at the club. And I don't want to name any of the other ones that we've been linked with in this video, but I'm sure if you're a Chelsea fan, you'll have seen or read or whatever and seen the players that we're linked with at the moment. And yeah, some of them are okay. Frankie de Jong, I'll name him as probably the main one, but he would only come to us because he knows that he's got to take a pay cut to go to stay at Barcelona. And Barcelona can't register players until they have certain players off their books, like de Jong. So it's a tricky one, because I think, we need to bring players in, we need to offload players, but we can't do either of those things whilst we're still sitting here doing all these negotiations. And I get that obviously Todd Boehly's come in, there's a lot of transition, there's a lot of time where we're gonna have to sort of go through that transitional period and hope for the best. But at the same time as well, you want to see the key players come through the door, or players that we're trying to get through the door. Even Nathan Ake, who doesn't potentially start for Manchester City, we couldn't even get that deal done. And we're potentially saying to Nathan Ake, look, you're going to be starting ultimately most of our games next season. Champions League, it's still there for you. I don't know what's happening in terms of recruitment, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying Tuchel out already. Tuchel out. I can't do that, because for me personally, Todd Boehly's come in, he's changed the structure at the top of the club. He's got rid of a lot of key players, key people that he needed to get rid of. I agree with that 100%. Marina Granovskaya being the massive one. You look back at some of those transfers that she made, she got a lot of them wrong, but she did know how to do business. And whether it took took a bit more time to get the deal done over the line, or whether we just lost out on that. I don't think we've gained anything by Marina not being at the club, because we're still not getting the right players in through the door anyway. So yes, we got Sterling and Koulibaly, but I think we would have got them. They were given. Sterling wanted regular football. He wanted to be closer to London, near his family, so that made sense for him. And Koulibaly was a player that we were linked with, a couple of seasons ago anyway. So I think the time was right for him to come. New challenge. I think he's 31, so he's done what he wants to do at Napoli, and he's coming for a new challenge in one of the best leagues, that they call it one of the best leagues in the world. So I think those two deals would have been done regardless of who was in charge of recruitment and bringing players in. My problem is we haven't progressed with this new kind of structure that we all hoped that Todd Boehly was going to bring in and implement. He hasn't done that. And now we're getting to the point where we might end up adding to the deadwood of players that we actually need to get rid of, because come next week, when the season actually kicks off, we've got a big game against Everton at 5:30. When that actually happens and we're there, and we've got some of these players that we know should not be in the squad, and we're having to put them on the bench, or we're having to play them in the game, that should be the wake-up call for Todd Boehly to say, look, we've got to get X, Y, and Z in. We need a CDM. We should really be trying to get as much pressure, or get under the skin of the agent of Declan Rice and say, look, we need him in this team. Let's get it done. That's what we should be doing. And I feel like Thomas Tuchel's potentially said that to Todd Boehly. He's probably said to Todd, we need to here's my list of players who I want in the team. Can you go and get them? That's to me, that's Thomas Tuchel's job's done. I think there's nothing else for me that Thomas Tuchel needs to do as a manager or as a head coach of the club. He's just got to give the list, give the green light to say, yes, I can work with this person, I can work with that person. I recommend these people. These are the people I need to do the job that I need to do. Now, if Todd Boehly and whoever else is doing these negotiations and they're going and ringing Cristiano Ronaldo, who wasn't on the list, or they're ringing Neymar, who wasn't on the list, we're wasting time. We're wasting time. We may as well go and get the players that we need before we lose out on them. And this is what I think we've done. I think we've just tried to go out and we've tried to get all these marquee signings in and make a big statement. And football, especially in this sort of climate as well, does not work like that. We haven't got the pulling power that we had when Roman Abramovich first came in, and he was just him that had all the money, and he was just bringing the money in. Football's changed since Roman Abramovich took the club on. There's other big players, PSG, Man City. They're big players now. And some people would rather go to Liverpool because they know that the recruitment strategy is better. They know that Jurgen Klopp is a manager that will get the best out of the players. And in terms of development, whether you're starting every game or not, same with Pep, whether you're starting every game or not, you're going to win stuff. So the pulling power that we had a few years ago when Roman came in and was buying Iron Robin and, Damien Duff and whoever else, those days are kind of gone now. So we have to act really fast on the transfer market to be able to get the players that we need in. And we haven't done that. If we're being honest, we haven't done it. We look, and I did say, and I remember doing a video saying that there's not really time to panic because we're going to get the deals done. Now for me is the time to start panicking a little bit, because you look around the other clubs. Spurs, strengthened. Arsenal, strengthened. United, Christian Eriksen's a really good signing for them on a free as well, strengthened. Man City, Haaland, they didn't necessarily need him. They were getting goals anyway, but he's going to add to the goals. He'll get 30 goals plus potentially this season across all comps. So yes, Champions League, they need him. Liverpool, bringing in Younes, a brilliant player. I think they'll lose out with Mane. I think, Mane was a brilliant player, worked for them, literally didn't start running. He was the legs in that front three for me. But in terms of Younes and what I've seen of him, brilliant player. So all those other clubs around us have strengthened, and we haven't strengthened. Yes, we brought in Raheem Sterling, but that isn't enough to compete for top 4 next season. So is it the time to panic? I think we need to start thinking about that point for me. I think we need to start thinking about that panic stations a little bit now. But it's annoying because we shouldn't be there, because we've got new owners who've come in. We're almost literally debt free. We've got a new owner that's come in and should really, in my opinion, have had a better plan coming into this. And maybe it has. Maybe we'll see that over the next couple of days or so. But, season starting, you don't really want to be signing players as you're playing games. You want your players in before the season kicks off. Pre-season, perfect time. We've got one more pre-season against Udinese, I think on Friday. You know, we need to play better than we did against Arsenal. That's just a given. It doesn't matter who goes out there to play, whether it's a player that isn't motivated or a player that doesn't want to be at the club or a player that might be leaving. If you're playing for Chelsea and you got the shirt on, you got to play. And that's as simple as pre-season or not. Look, there's definitely places up for grabs in that you know, the starting lineup against Everton. That's not a secret. But I think we need to really hope that we get some of these key players that are still out there that we're hopefully trying to get over the line. We need to try and get them done as soon as possible, because it's going to be a long season. We need to strap ourselves in. It's going to be a long season. But as always, it wouldn't be Chelsea if it wasn't chaotic. This is what we thrive on, what we live on. Like I said at the start of the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I think we're on 260 or 64 subscribers. So let's aim to get 300 subscribers before our next pre-season game. If we can get to 300 subscribers, we're definitely going to get 500 subscribers within no time. So let's try and get 300. Make sure you like the video, smash that like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about the transfer strategy as it is at the moment. As recording this video, are you happy with the fact that we've got 2 signings in? Should we have more? Who would you like to see come through the doors at Cobham and Stamford Bridge? Who would you like to see in a Chelsea shirt as well? Don't forget, at the bottom of the screen you can see all the social accounts as well, so make sure you search for them and click on them, follow them as well. I've been T.Dot. This has been From the Shed End. Until next time, hopefully I'll be a bit more upbeat, but until next time, stay safe and let's hope we can get some more signings in ASAP. Thanks for watching.